Can mindfulness meditation, a practice originally from Asia, help Asian Americans in the largest issues that they face today? I am with a meditation coach, a professional, Tim Huang, a certified meditation teacher, personal meditation coach, and occupational therapist. And Tim, you have been a trailblazer in bringing secular mindfulness meditation to NYC public schools, which is interesting, and you're empowering students of all kinds, especially ones with autism and ADHD. So thank you, Tim, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew, for having me here. I'm really stoked to be talking about this topic and, talking about meditation and how it can help Asian Americans.
Right, and even initially, even though meditation comes from Asia, from Buddhist practices, and a lot of Asians actually are Buddhists, I feel like a lot of Asians actually don't practice meditation unless they think oh, I got to be like a monk. Do I got to shave my head, to just do meditation? And I think the talk of meditation has become so much more mainstream now, but a lot of people forget it actually comes from Asia. So maybe this is one of those Asian things that Asian Americans are forgetting about.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point in terms of a lot of people feel like there's barriers to meditation. Like, do I have to be a monk? Do I have to dress a certain way? But
do you have to be mystical? Are you going to take your brain to a higher level and all that stuff?
Yeah, right, exactly. But at the same time, a lot of my work is making meditation accessible. Like, what are we actually doing? Right. How it can improve our lives and how we can implement it in our lives to make us better people.
Yeah, good. And obviously there's we know that there's a mental health stigma amongst Asian Americans, at least especially about talking about it. And so that's why we're addressing the 5 main kind of mental health, mental wellness things that Asians face in America. So yeah, everybody please hit that like button. Check out other episodes of the Hop Hop Boys. Hopefully this is found useful for you and you enjoy this talk. So I'm going to go through the list real quick and then we'll knock them down one by one. Suicide, unaliving yourself, is an issue amongst young Asian Americans, as we're going to talk about and as people may have heard. Depression, not feeling like they belong. There's, of course, generational issues. We have parents from another country. There's culture shock in that, and also feeling like an immigrant, and then also just battling stereotypes and media perception, and how that all impacts Asians. And I guess I want to touch on, and I'm sure this video could be so much longer, but I want to touch on how meditation can help all that. So I guess people always hear, the line, 15 to 24-year-old Asian Americans, the number one leading cause of death is suicide, which is interesting because it's not the case for other races of kids. Other races of kids, black or white, maybe the homicide, overdoses, and accidents are more prevalent. But for us as Asians, as young Asians, I'm outside of this age range now, but it's that internal battle, it feels like,
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. 100%. I can totally relate to that in my own experience. Yeah, I dealt with a decent amount of depression and anxiety growing up, feeling alienated as an Asian American. And that's why, mental meditation was is what helped me transform and break through a lot of that and understand my emotions and understand that these emotions are really just fleeting. They're always just coming and going. And then I learned to take a different perspective on these emotions and these really strong emotions that were just gripping me. So I'd love to.
Is it kind of like, and obviously, people unalive themselves for so many different reasons and it's so tragic and it's hard to stop. But I guess you would say that in short, if people could sit down and meditate when they're starting to have these feelings, that it would help them.
Yeah, absolutely. A big part of meditation is really just, okay, let me just feel this. Let me sit and kind of just lean into this a little bit, notice it. And once you start noticing and start naming what is happening as it's happening, you take it less personally. And you don't get so wrapped up in it, and it feels so solid, and it feels like it's going to last forever, like this panic or depression. But meditation helps you actually just focus on it, and then actually see it for what it is, and then you get some space from it, and then you can kind of just work with it in a way and get some understanding. So I think that's for me, that's that was everything for me.
Right. Yeah, and then I think also obviously a lot of this stuff does stem from not feeling like they belong. Like there's statistics saying that only 38% of Asian Americans feel like they belong in America. And these are probably young Asian Americans. Yeah. And like, that's great. That's the lowest of any ethnic group in America, that we Asians feel like they belong the least. Now, is it maybe because there are actual language barriers that a lot of Asians, if you come from Asia and you immigrate to America, you don't feel like you belong, blah, blah. But I also think it's like, it also ties to the media perception and everything like that. Let's talk about like Asian males, the issues that, you know, we're two Asian guys. And of course there's plenty of issues that Asian women and Asian men both face. But I think like on the Asian male side, I guess there's certain kind of interesting stats that we were talking about earlier that are somewhat startling, right? That would lead you to believe like, yo, Asian dudes might really need to meditate.
Yeah, actually, we were just looking at a study that talked about how Asian-born, U.S.-born Asian American men actually have increased risk of substance abuse. And to me, I mean, that actually speaks a lot to me, to my own experience.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah, we're exactly. American-born Asians, right?
100%, yeah.
And we're at the highest risk of substance abuse.
Yeah. And, you know, and it makes a lot of sense because a lot of Asian men, including myself, feel like we might feel like kind of othered or not seen in media or just at work. Or maybe we're taught to like suppress our emotions and just like keep powering through and not be vulnerable too. And meditation really is like this act of being vulnerable with yourself.
Right. It's like meditation. You'd want that ideally to be like the anti-drug. But a lot of people do lead to substances, alcohol, to you drink your sorrows away. You're looking for community. Maybe you go to the bar or you're just drinking away at home just to kind of like suppress these feelings. And then you may go on to other substances.
100%.
Yeah, right.
And you suppress it and you end up not even addressing the root cause, the issue.
Yeah. I mean, I think like obviously when you see a stat like that American-born Asian men are the most likely of Asians to abuse substances, I think like, even though that's a headline and there's probably a lot more to that, you have to like, that's interesting.
Yeah, it opens up a lot of questions.
Like, oh, shoot. Yeah, I mean, there's even differences between genders. There was this one report that said there's evidence that Chinese and Vietnamese males have more alcohol problems than Chinese and Vietnamese females. Or that, what was it, that Asian-born immigrant women have the lowest likelihood of substance abuse, like kind of like our moms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would say generally immigrant moms are not usually going to abuse substances. We're worried about the family or about raising the kids, but oftentimes it's more on the male side, right? So yeah, males, we're facing... There's issues there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other, I guess, touching upon one other issue is just like this feeling of tension because because we're American born, there's that tension of like, am I, Western? Am I Eastern? Like, where do I fit into society? And there's just like, I know.
Being emasculated or feeling like letting that internalize you, even if, I think sometimes people, I don't know if this is a stat that you came across, but I heard from one of those experts on a podcast that like, most people, their trauma or whatever whether it's a lot or a little, they usually amplify it in their mind. Like they remember it as much worse than it maybe actually was.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. But anyways, I guess let's talk about like, how can meditation and what type of meditation particularly, because there's different, like, I don't want to say strains of meditation, but there's different,
there's different
styles, different practices of meditation. Which one are you teaching, and why do you think that's the best one?
Yeah, I'm trained in mindfulness meditation, but I'm kind of like a polyglot, meaning like I've studied and practiced so many different traditions and types. The main one I teach is mindfulness meditation.
Okay, just describe mindfulness meditation, because that's kind of the mainstream one, right? That people are doing. So I guess describe it.
Yeah, so mindfulness.
What do you do?
Sure. Yeah. So what you do is, what it is, it's a sustained present moment awareness. And it's this openness, it's this curiosity, and this kind of like this kindness to whatever you're experiencing at that moment. And it's the training of it. And the meditation is the actual training of that, to be open to what you're experiencing moment after moment.
How do you like, what are some of the things you would like say to yourself to be open? What does it mean to be open?
To be really curious and like see things like for the first time. It's almost like, okay, I'm going to be open to what it feels like to sit in this chair. I'm going to be open to what I'm thinking about. Just curiously open. And I'm going to
open and like not reacting, not being
Not
like, oh my
reacting,
gosh,
yeah.
if this thought comes in my brain, because you know sometimes you're sitting there and there's just like weird thoughts or maybe sexual thoughts just come into your brain, and then you're like
Yeah. No, exactly. It's this sense, that's where you're touching on this skill called equanimity and acceptance. Equanimity is like this weird word, but what it really means is I'm going to accept whatever's in my experience without wanting to change it or try to alter it, and you're going to accept your situation. And that right there is like, that's so key, because it feels like such a relief to just be like, I'm just going to accept whatever's here.
So is mindfulness meditation, when you're coaching people, what does a session, we don't have to pull off an entire session right now, but what does it look like? Am I closing my eyes and, or am I just like literally just trying to breathe? Like it's almost that simple. Like,
Yeah. So a seated practice, right? Typically, it's all pretty much, you can alter it. You can make it your own. So eyes closed, that's how I like to do it. Eyes closed. You can do it eyes open too. You're usually picking one spot to focus your attention on. It's usually the breath is most commonly taught, feeling of the breath, and then or sounds, and you're literally just putting your attention on some sensation of your experience. And when it drifts away into thought or it drifts away into an emotion, you kind of just notice it, note it, and then you just come back to whatever you're focusing on, like the breath.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that we could delve into even more nuance of it, but I guess I want to talk about like, what is meditation supposed to do and how can it help like Asian guys, these issues that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like these are serious stuff. Unaliving, not feeling like you belong, substance abuse.
Yeah.
I guess, what are some things that meditation does for that when you're practicing it? Because it still takes practice.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So good question. So what is actually doing? What are we doing in meditation? Well, we're building our concentration. We're building our clarity, our ability to feel our situation. We're building our ability to accept whatever's here. And what does that do? Well, number one, it reduces stress. So like your ability to calm your nervous system by doing this practice over and over again, just coming back to the present moment. You can
kind of being in control of able to calm yourself.
Yeah.
That's even an aspect of meditation. It doesn't mean that just, is it like, do you think people have actually meditated in their life and they didn't even know it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
You hear this a lot with athletes, for instance, or people just doing housework. You know, they just feel like, you know, they're not in their head. So meditation teaches you to disembed from your thoughts. And the studies show that the more in your thoughts you are, the more neurotic, the lower your mood.
Right. That's what it kind of means to be in your thoughts. I guess like, could you describe it as like the art of not being stressed out?
Yeah, I like that. I like that framing. It's definitely an antidote to stress, and at the same time, like you're actually meeting your stress in a way. So like, it's not that you're never going to get stressed, but how can I like work with it in a way?
Oh, is it like, hey, stress, I'm seeing you, I'm meeting you, I'm feeling you, I'm talking to you right now. I acknowledge you're there.
Yeah. There's this sense of welcome.
You're not like coming at me. I'm able to keep you and like, control where, okay. What about like, I think obviously like when it comes to not feeling belonging or being emasculated as Asian guys, like confidence is a big part.
Yeah.
How does it help confidence?
Yeah. So great question. So how it helps with that is you can see kind of the narratives and the stories that are playing in real time when you're meditating or when you're off the cushion. You can see it for when it's happening in real time. You acknowledge it. You know, you just say hi to it. But at the same time, then you can disentangle yourself from that. As soon as you notice you're caught in the spell of like having lack of confidence or having low self-esteem, you can see that. And then you can start to replace it with what you want to actually feel more of, like more joy or gratitude, or maybe, kind of just thinking of ways of being able to work with these things and then finding a different path. Okay. So getting some space from it.
Okay. Can you give me an example? Like if, let's say, I'm an Asian guy, I feel like I lack confidence because I've been told I'm short, I'm not that good looking, and I don't know if my wee-wee is very big, right? And these are all things these are real feelings for like any guy, right? But we're just talking about Asian guys. That's what you're told. So I guess like what's maybe one thing that you might want to tell yourself if you're this guy, or like, you know, I guess do.
Yeah, you can ask yourself, is this true? Is this true? You know, you can notice it, what is happening. What is the story I'm telling about? Is it like a, you know.
Right, and that leads you to think, well, who said it's true? And why is it supposedly true?
Exactly.
Right.
And then you can also just, you can find a way to kind of just slowly not tell yourself a different story. So you notice it in real time that's happening. Oh, Asian men are weak or whatever. That's a narrative. That's a story. And then I'm seeing it happen, play out, and then I can just like I can redirect my attention somewhere else. I can feel my body sitting in the chair. It's
like almost like you play the story out in your mind.
Yeah.
And it's a story that you told yourself or other people told you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can tell yourself a different story.
Exactly. You can tell yourself a different story, and you can turn away from it. You can learn to turn away. Yeah.
Is that also how, I guess, mindfulness meditation can give you, I guess, the strength or the confidence to act on the change? Because I think like there's always a disconnect between thinking about your issue, and people are always like, oh, I can describe my issue, but I can't muster up the energy and the fortitude to go out and actually start working out, start doing this, start doing my hair, start like doing the things that would make me more confident.
100%. Like you can, what I just thought of, like this narrative of self-pity, when you see it playing out, you can ask yourself, like, is this helpful? Is this helpful right now? And how many times am I going to tell this story? You know, so it's just like.
Right, because it's like saying, yo, I'm in control of what movies we watch at this theater. How many times do I want to keep replaying this sob story to myself?
Exactly.
You're useful. Like, I can play any movie I want, technically, right?
Yeah. Exactly. No,
well, I mean within reason, but you can tell yourself any story, but like probably you want a good, reasonable story, but like
exactly. You can change the channel. That's what it is. You can pause and you can change the channel. Let me watch a different movie, or let me turn to a different song.
Yeah, you're like, why do I keep watching this YouTube video on loop?
Yeah.
It's like watching the same, like, you're nothing.
Yeah.
You're not a man. And then you're just like, okay, that's cool, but like, am I gonna watch this 100 times? Like,
yeah, exactly. And you start realizing you get disenchanted with it. You're like, let me let this go. Right. It's like you're carrying this in your backpack, like the time, the weight of this, and then you're just like, meditation can help you realize that and let it go and just release.
Yeah. What about? I guess it's also from Asia. It's from Buddhism. Buddhism comes from South Asia, between like Nepal, India, that area. Came over to East Asia. Obviously, has had a huge impact on the world. Yeah. I think people forget that it's Asian.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, that's a good point. In America, for sure, it can get kind of confused. It's confusing because there's this whole talk. It's debatable right now about how, you know, secular mindfulness is really mostly for white converts, and
you talking about like the guys with the ponytails that can sit crisscross, and they're like, I'm a mindfulness teacher,
right? Exactly,
but they don't mention Buddha ever.
Right. Well, yeah. So there is that. There's a secularization of meditation, which is very, very controversial because they believe that it's being appropriated from Asian roots. And there's another movement. There's a small corner of the internet they're called like angry Asian Buddhists, who actually are angry that like there's no representation of Asian Americans in the Buddhist scene. Most of the books are being written by white converts, and most of the most famous teachers are white as well. So there is this movement of people kind of saying like, yeah, what's up with this?
Are there? I guess my question would be, are there gatekeepers that are stopping Asians from rising up to that level? And maybe do we need to support other Asians who are at least trying to represent in their own way? You know. Anyways, I think that's a larger conversation. Yeah. But I guess like. Yeah, I think when you describe it the way you did, it almost just feels like yeah, you can boil it down to mindfulness, you know, like before the word meditation was tacked onto it, it's like, hey, just be mindful and just like think about yourself and tell yourself a different story. And that sounds, like you said, so non-mystical, non-Buddhist. You're like, you know, you're not doing a humming group. You're not even doing the Tibetan bowls you have there. You can pick them up. Yeah, pick up that. You brought them. Just do it. Just do it. Can we do it?
Yeah.
See. Dude, real meditation right here. But yeah, I mean, I think that overall, a lot of people use meditation in different ways. You know, I've heard everything from top athletes to Navy SEALs. They do their version, but they don't call it Buddhist meditation. But anyways, I did want to do this video because I generally just think like, I'm not saying like everybody needs to even be Buddhist because no, people have their own religious beliefs. That's fine. But no matter what, I feel like religion background you come from, even if you're a non-believer of anything, that this can benefit you. Yeah. Because it's actually just you understanding yourself and controlling that story that you tell yourself and getting out of that. Right?
Absolutely.
And like you said, meeting your stress head on.
Yeah, it's building emotional intelligence. It's helping you deal with stress. And there is this whole rich, spiritual tradition. There is this mystical and esoteric part of it, of like understanding, like, interdependence and things like that. And there's ethical conduct to it. But meditation has been kind of separated and like as a skills training. So, you can legitimately think of it as a technique, as well. And it's part of a broader religious and spiritual tradition.
I heard some people try to they say, oh, it's like breath work or like, I guess if you want to use that term, if you don't even want to say meditation, maybe there's sort of like different names for the mindfulness meditation, I suppose. But
right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm glad that we talked about this. We just want to acknowledge a lot of the issues that Asians are going through, especially mentally, because obviously Asians are very hardworking, high achieving, very enterprising people. We own so many businesses, so many LLCs are owned by Chinese, Asians in general. And so, but yeah, one thing that maybe we forgot about, or even like other people who come from Buddhist families. I have friends who come from Buddhist families, but as far as I know, they don't meditate. So hey, bringing back the meditation.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching that. Check out Tim's links down below. I'm going to do another video with him. But check out his links. Bombard him with direct messages.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Please ask me. Reach out to me if you have any questions on meditation.
Okay.
Happy to talk. Thank you so much, Andrew, for having me on.
All right. All right, everybody. Hit that like button. Click subscribe. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.